So today, I'm going to talk about the power of art. The power of art to ignite change in individuals, communities, neighborhoods, systems, and by extension, the civic life of the city of Philadelphia has changed because of public art. So who is Mural Arts? Many of you might know, but some of you may not. We started out as the Anti-Graffiti Network. Way back in the day, graffiti was everywhere, and people said it's a social epidemic, and it's never going to change. But here's the deal with problems that are intractable. I believe when it comes to that, things can change. And often, when it comes to those kinds of problems, it is the role of innovation and creativity that ultimately will make a difference, because sometimes traditional interventions fail us. And so Wilson Good said, we're going to work with kids who are writing on walls, and we're going to have an art program, and they hired me. And I had no idea what I was doing, and there was no roadmap or blueprint. And suddenly it was like, you're hired, Jane Golden, you're going to have 1,000 graffiti writers. Good luck. And I was like, yikes. So I started meeting graffiti writers, and what did I find out? I found out that they had extraordinary talent that had sadly and historically gone unrecognized. They had been stealing art magazines, Art in America. They had an uncanny knowledge of abstract expressionism. They were sneaking into the art museum. And I was like, look, you guys, let's paint murals in the city of Philadelphia. And they were like, we're not going to paint murals. We want to work with spray paint. And I'm like, guess what? The Mayor Good is not going to pay you to work with spray paint. Work with a brush. And finally, they listened, and we started working together and creating art. And in 1984 through 85, 86, 87, we began to deliver art as a city service in neighborhoods where the only other city employees were the police. Art as a city service. Think about that. That is a revolutionary idea. And this was not art that was parachuted down from the sky. This was art that was created deliberately and intentionally in connection and collaboration with communities about their lives, their stories, their histories. Those big, bold works of art in the city gave people meaning and hope. And eventually, it turned into the Mural Arts Program in 1997. And we said, oh my God, we are a pro-art program. We're going to open our doors to all kids, not just graffiti writers. And then we were made part of social services. We started working with DHS and the Department of Behavioral Health. And then we started working in prisons. And that brings me to here. Because the criminal justice work run by Robin Buseman, who's fantastic, Robin Buseman, I can't see you, but I know you're there, has grown exponentially and is an important part of what we do. You see, I believe that we should be highly aspirational, and I also believe that we should be extremely pragmatic and strike with surgical precision on every issue that Mayor Nutter grapples with, every issue that City Council thinks about, every issue that commissioners think about. There is a role for art. And so when they said start working in the Philly prisons, I was like, okay, we'll see what we can do. We did a few small murals. We did some classes. Then I got a call from the art therapist out here, Will Ersprung. He said, would you give a lecture at Graterford? I'm like, Graterford? It's far away. I don't know. I'm really busy. He goes, please come. So I came out here and I talked to 40 men. And I thought, well, that seemed interesting. And I left. And I thought, okay, that was it. Check, done, right? Until I got another call from Will. He goes, would you come out here and do a mural? I said, a mural? Oh, that seems really extreme. He goes, oh, no, I'm going to apply to the Arts Council. I thought, well, they probably won't get the grant. But he got the grant. So I was like, oh, now I've got to do it. So we came out here. I always got lost coming here. It was always a big thing. And then we tried to bring paint in, and that was a drama. And it's like every bucket got searched. It was like, this is a nightmare. So anyway, so we come in, and the class is not that friendly, right? They're not like, hey, Jane Golden, really great to see you. They're like, who are you? And we're suspicious, and you're like a tourist. And people are always coming in and out of here from nonprofits, and they put it on their resume, and then they leave. And you're probably just like them. And I was like, yikes, okay, this is like going to be a handful. So I'm like, well, you don't know me. I am actually really tenacious and really dedicated and really devoted, and I believe that art is linked with social change. And if you want to give back, then you have come to the right person, because I am going to challenge you to give back. And so we started doing this mural. And what I saw in the class was incredible. Again, like the young people I work with throughout the city of Philadelphia, extraordinary talent. One thing happened, though. This mural never got finished. It kept getting painted again and again and again. And I kept saying to my colleagues back at Mural Arts, I'm going to end up being at Graterford till I'm 90. This mural will never be finished. This is rivaling the Sistine Chapel. I feel like the Pope and Michelangelo. We're going back and forth about deadlines. How is this happening at Graterford? Finally, I came in and I said, I have to write a report to the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts. We are going to be in jeopardy of never getting a grant again if this mural doesn't get finished. They said, well, we think if we finish it, you'll never come back. So I said, wow. I said, well, that's something. So I said, oh, wait, I guess I guess we're never really going away, are we? So they were like, that's right. So I said, so what do we do next? And they said, we want to do outdoor murals. And I said, okay, that's a problem because I don't think you're getting out of here. So how's that happening? And then we got it. We work on parachute cloth a lot of the times. And we thought, aha, we could do murals in here and they could go out throughout the city. And I want you all to know that we have close to 4,000 murals in the city of Philadelphia, big and little, indoor and outdoor. More murals. Yay, it's good, it's something great in Philly. More murals than any city in the world, and a portion of those murals, a portion of that incredible collection of public art has been created inside these walls, and that is extraordinary. So we started out, and then we said, okay, what are we gonna do? And then we thought, okay, why set the bar low? Let's set the bar really high. We're gonna do a project with victims and victims advocates. And I went to the Prison Society and they were like, and I've heard this a lot of my life, that's a crazy idea. I'm not sure that can work. But then they joined forces with us and we worked with the wonderful Barb Taves and she helped us mediate between victims and the people inside here in our program. And you know what happened? Everything went wrong. Nobody got along, it was full of acrimony. Everybody was claiming who had the most pain. And I'm thinking, I'm a lay person, this was probably a really bad idea. And if there's a documentary film made about it, and if you look at me, I look exhausted and overwhelmed almost the entire film, because that was the real deal. Projects like that are really risky, and you're really vulnerable to critique. But guess what? I wouldn't have it any other way. And in the end, what we were able to see is that these two sides that were so far apart were able to come together. And you know when they came together? Right in this auditorium, when they painted together, not in the circle when we talked. That was good, that was important, but it was when people started sharing stories of their lives. You know what? Our work shines a light on diversity and it lifts up our commonality and ultimately it connects us to all that makes us human, and that's what we saw in that project. There is a picture in my mind of the mural dedication when people, brothers and sisters and uncles and aunts and children from people who are in here were at that dedication talking to the victims. And suddenly it humanized everyone. It did something magical happened. And the Secretary of Prisons came down, saw it, and talked to the former superintendent, and they decided to make the program here a work program. A work program where men would get paid to create art, to create beauty, to create hope for communities, schools, recreation centers all across Philadelphia. We have a waiting list of thousands and thousands of people who want art. The demand far exceeds our ability to ever do it. And yet, because of this program, because of this, people are able to get art in their lives. You know, some people say art belongs behind the walls of galleries and museums, and I say, nonsense. Art belongs to all of us. This program is about equity and justice. It is like your right to have beauty in your life, period. And all young people in the city of Philadelphia deserve to have access to art education, and anything less than that, quite frankly, is absolutely unacceptable. So once our program started going, boom, we were on fire. And I thought, okay, Mural Arts, we're about art education, we're about behavioral health, we're about community and economic development, and we're about criminal and restorative justice. We hired Robin Buseman. We brought on Eric Oakday, who's an extraordinary teaching artist, muralist, and artist. Round of applause. Started teaching here. And one after another, he started doing extraordinary murals. Family Interrupted was an amazing mural about the impact of prisons on families everywhere. And then we got it. You know what? We just don't want to do projects, right? We're not just interested in a project. We want an entire program. And everything we do is going to be about providing services to people so that when people come to a visioning session, when people come to a painting session, they're going to take away something that they didn't have before they started to work with the Mural Arts Program. No, we can't change the world, right? But we can show people, murals can show people the powerful catalytic role that art can play in the life of the city, and Family Interrupted does that. And then we did a big project about forgiveness. Forgiveness, think about what a powerful concept that is. And so we met a young man. So the Graterford was a catalyst. I think everything we do is catalytic in some way. So when we started seeing success here, we went to the mayor and we said, we want to do this more in the Philly prisons. And we started to expand the work there. And then we started working at the Youth Study Center, at NET, at Vision Quest. Everywhere that we can make an impact, we want to be. And so when we were working in the Philly prisons, we started working with kids who had been sentenced as adults, and they were facing long sentences, except for this one young man who had a shorter sentence, and because he had provided the gun in the shooting, but he hadn't done the shooting. And he did a good job in our class, and he got out. And he said, and we hired him. He came to me one day, he said, Miss Jane, I have a favor to ask. And I said, what? He said, I want to meet my victim. And I knew his victim was a paraplegic as a result of the shooting. And I said, oh, really? He goes, I think his mom forgave me. So I called up his mom, and his mom had forgiven him. So I took Michael Whittington up to the Northeast to meet Kevin Johnson. And I couldn't believe I was doing this. And we got up there, there's Kevin sitting on the porch in a wheelchair with tubes. And Michael looks at me and he goes, you know what? I'm not getting out of the car, I can't do it. I said, oh, no. We didn't drive up to the Northeast for you to change your mind, because you see, you thought courage was providing a gun in a shooting. And I'm telling you, Michael Whittington, that courage is getting out of this car and going up to that young man and telling him that you ruined his life and you're really sorry for it and you'll be sorry for the rest of your life. And that's what you're doing, because the car is not turning around. So he got out and he went up to him and they started talking. And I went aside with the mom. We went inside. We came out and they were talking about the Sixers. I'm like, how'd this happen, right? The two of them bonded and spent the next few years talking to kids in schools about the impact and consequences of violent crime. Then Kevin died as a result of complications. And Eric Oakday came and said to me, I think we should do a tribute to Kevin and his mom and do a forgiveness project, and we're going to paint it in part right here at Graterford. And what we realize is that everybody wants, forgiveness is important. It's something that resonates with all of us. And we're all angry about something and we hold on to it. And when you look at that gorgeous, incredible mural, because I go by 13th and Arielette and I see those doves in the sky, I feel like that is our anger. It's opening up and it's flying away. It is freeing us. It is liberating us. It is doing exactly what art does. It was on the side of a women's shelter, and the women there got involved. And every Thursday night, Eric Oakday had community days with hundreds of people coming to paint because they wanted to be part of something hugely exciting and optimistic and hopeful, because that is what we want as citizens, and that is what art can do. And then after that was so exciting, we thought it's not enough to just be working in prisons. We need a reentry program. We want a program for people returning from prison. And so we started the Guild. And I give Robin so much credit for that. It's a 3-track program. We teach landscaping, building skills, mural making, design, and technology. It's incredible. And then you know what happens? All these men and women who are trained go out throughout the city of Philadelphia, and they take on these rec centers that are bereft, that are falling apart, that are gray, that are graffitied, that have trash, and they change them. They change them. They make these sites beautiful. And it is such a win-win. Our recidivism rate is like 9%. This is not brain surgery, how we change the world. It is about mustering the political and social will to make good decisions on behalf of the public. That's what this is about. This is about innovative and creative thinking, as I said in the beginning of my talk. It's about changing individuals and then challenging them to give back and make a difference in the lives of so many others. What happens here at Graterford is catalytic. It's catalytic because people here are doing something so positive. And it impacts their families, their neighbors, their friends. The people here are not here in a vacuum. They are not invisible. They are not the nameless, faceless enemy that often society wants to portray them as. And that's why the superintendent here feels strongly about programs, because it humanizes people, because it gives you hope, and by extension, you are giving hope to thousands and thousands of people around the city of Philadelphia, young people who are desperately in need of it. There's a wonderful saying that I love, and that saying is, hope is believing in spite of the evidence, and watching the evidence change. Watching the evidence change. Think about that. That is truly the honor and the privilege of doing this work at Mural Arts. And now, almost 4,000 murals later, 40,000 kids later, working in prisons, working with people returning from prison, working in the behavioral health system, which I love that work, the porch light work, and working on underpasses, overpasses, and now working with national and internationally known artists. I have to say that I feel this with all my heart, that art ignites change and transformation, and I thank you so much for making that possible.